Hey, so I got a great story about meeting Ace and some advice he gave me about buying a new guitar. But before we get into that, I'll give you a little backstory, how I met him, and his light-up Broadway guitar. So stay tuned. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks. So really sad to see the news about Ace, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on tributes about his life and guitar playing, and it popped a memory cap for me because I did have an interaction with Ace as a young guitar player. Thinking back what a big influence he was on my playing, I must have played Kiss Alive 1,000 times and learned every lick on there. And Ace was just so great with double stops and the pentatonic jams that were signature. This was before I got into Jimmy Page and David Gilmour and Hendrix, but he was so foundational and just really tasty, great emotional playing. So yeah, I'm rooted with Ace playing. So my interaction with Ace was back in the day when I was a young intern at my company. We made batteries for TV news and lighting, and we were contracted to make the batteries for Ace's Les Paul, the ones that had the lights in them. The one I think we put the batteries in were for the one that had a series of lights that looked like a Broadway sign, possibly the one that had a 250 watt tungsten lamp in the neck pickup that he would turn on, and they would shine a spotlight on his guitar, and it would be like his light was reflecting, pickup was reflecting, but it was really a 250 watt tungsten bulb in there. And at the time, my uncle was there, and he had to deliver the battery packs to the city, and he asked me, knowing that I was a big Kiss fan, if I wanted to go and drop off the batteries. So of course I jumped at the opportunity, and he said, "You may meet the band." And I said, "Oh, that's great." So I got my Kiss music book. This is probably from 1977, and this was my Bible. I learned every song on here. And we went to a rehearsal studio downtown in Manhattan, and we got in there, and they were rehearsing for an upcoming concert at Madison Square Garden. So we sat in the waiting room, and I got to hear them play all their songs. When they broke off from rehearsal, we went in, we delivered the batteries to whoever the manager was or their guitar tech, and my uncle said, "You know, my nephew's here, he's a big Kiss fan and he's a guitar player, and would it be okay if he met the band and said hello?" And they said, "Absolutely." So we went over, and Gene, Peter, and Ace were there. Paul left the room, but I went right to Gene and said, "Hey, I play guitar and love you guys." And he was very gracious, took my book. You can see on the inside here, he signed right there in the inside cover. And Peter was there, and he was great. He signed it, and he said, "Yeah, keep playing." And then they went about their business. They had a mock-up of the stage for Madison Square Garden with little figurines, and they were choreographing how the concert was going to go. And then finally, I said, "Is it okay if I meet Ace?" And they said, "Sure." So I went to the other side of the room, and there was Ace sitting on a stool with about 10 Les Pauls lined up. And he was going through each one and running it through its paces. So they went over, they introduced me, and I told him I play guitar. And he said, "Oh, great." So he took my book, and he opened it up to Cold Gin, which was his song. And he signed it right there, you could see. And so he said, "What kind of guitar do you have?" And I said, "I have an Ibanez Les Paul copy, but it's starting to rust out, and I'd love to get a real Les Paul." And he gave me some great guitar advice, and it was more philosophical than technique. He just said, "When you buy a guitar, don't pick the first one up off the rack." He goes, "Play through each one and find the one that has mojo and the one that talks to you. It's got to feel right. It's got to sound right." And I took that advice, and that's very true, that you can buy a cheap guitar that plays great, sounds good, that's as good as an expensive guitar that was made on a Friday as a clunker. So he was showing me how he was going through each Les Paul, and there must have been 8 to 10 of them, and he would play each one, and he says, no, this one doesn't feel good, this one doesn't sound good, and then he would find the one that had that sweet spot that he said, this is the one, and that was the one that he would use on tour. So that's my brush with Ace, and he was very gracious, cool guy, and this was before they were out and about without their makeup. So I got to see them without the makeup, which was a big deal back in the day. So I'm truly grateful that I got to meet him as a young guitar player that was very inspirational and got some great advice. My fundamental playing is still rooted with Ace. So that's my story and my brush with Ace.